It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. Ulike. With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
Happy Monday, the Pete Sousa Show. We are coming to you live from the DFW. That's right. We are in Flower Mound, Texas, and a lot to talk about today. Of course, a lot of people to thank, too. Slovacics, we appreciate you being on board with us all the way through. You guys got to stop in Slovacics if you make your way to West Texas. Scotty, give me a thumbs up. Everything good? We are good to go. Scotty Swingler's back in Central Texas. Of course, I'm in North Texas. And the Oklahoma City Thunder, they are world champions. We'll start with that, but we also want to thank the folks at Crawford Austin Properties, Socorro Family Ford, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, and you can't forget about our guys at D1. Also, Extraco Bank being a part of things here. Looking forward as we continue to expand and grow the program. First thing I have to say, organic, authentic, thank you, because we are now at more than 40,000 subscribers. And if you're watching right now, it's your first time, like, subscribe, or I guess don't watch if you don't want to. But I like to think we have some compelling, some interesting content. And I like to think we're, although I'm not smart, I was asked recently to describe the show. I think it's kind of a smart sports show. And that's just based on the fact that I've been on the planet for a long time, working in and around sports and being obsessed with it. The NBA Finals, no place else to start. A really, really tough one last night. At 4 minutes and 55 seconds gone in the first quarter, down goes Tyrese Haliburton in something nobody expected. I think some of us, not myself actually. So when I say some of us, I mean people who are like hyperbolic about sports and so focused on it and Game 7 stuff. Some people did look at, what happened to Kevin Durant in 2019, a similar situation with, a sore or injured lower leg, calf in particular. You play through it because it's the biggest stage. The biggest stage you can be on in sports is the NBA Finals, and certainly for Haliburton, the absolute biggest is a Game 7 in a NBA Finals. So the fact that Haliburton played was nothing short of courageous, but also nothing short of expected. He's 3 of 4 with 9 points. The Pacers could not have asked for a better start to the game on the road at Oklahoma City. I mean, remember, they get a timeout. Oklahoma City does. Mark Dagnall, you see him like halfway onto the floor. It's one of those timeouts, so you really feel good about the Pacers and their start if you're an Indiana fan. And then, with 4:55, and you see right when he goes down, Mike Breen says, and here's the deal. It was kind of a quick play transition-wise, so they headed the other way towards the Thunder's basket, and you're thinking in your head, oh my gosh, I hope that's not serious. And then all of a sudden, Mike Breen says he looks hurt. Now, Mike Breen, one of the best broadcasters of all time, is not going to say that if there's almost like unless there's a very certain possibility that he's injured and it's serious. And it was obviously right when they show the replay. I'm thinking that's not a sore calf. That's an Achilles. We've got a problem here. And I did going forward. I thought the Pacers, the way the Thunder played in the first half, the door was 1,000% open for the Pacers to steal this one without their best player. And if there was one team who could do it, Bob Myers talked about this at halftime, it was the Pacers, right? They have all year long. That's one of the reasons that we all enjoyed them as they started to make their run. Remember, a third of the way into the season, this was a team that was a play-in team in the NBA Finals or in the NBA playoffs, okay? So they band together. They were one of those teams that if you watch them play, the ball didn't stick anywhere, okay? It was basically, let's get it to our best player or the open player. The best player was Tyrese Haliburton. And all of a sudden, he starts to meet the moment as they make this magical run. Of course, the huge upset of the Cavaliers coming on the heels of them beating Milwaukee. And then you beat the Knicks. I mean, it was a magical, magical run and just a nightmare ending. I mean, as much as we hate injuries, last night and that like ripped from a Hollywood script type moment when the superstar goes down, not all movies end happy, right? When your star goes down, the guy who would become the focal point of the series, not only because of how well he played in Game 1 with the buzzer beater, but because of how well he had played coming into the series. And then we started to get focused on his play. Okay, what happened? And then also we're focused on, oh, now he's hurt. He was the headliner throughout the entire series. We were certainly fascinated with SGA, and we'll get to him in a moment, as we should have been. But Haliburton really was the story. The Pacers and this run was the story, 7-1 to win the finals coming in. And here they were in a Game 7. There was a lot of excitement around the Game 7. And unfortunately, when that injury happened, I knew we were in for kind of an ugly affair. And I thought, I wanted the Pacers to win. I had some skin in the game, if you know what I mean. No skins on the wall after that loss for me, because the skin I had was for the Pacers. So when the Pacers lose Haliburton, you think, okay, this is going to get ugly. But it was such a clumsy completion of the second half. And the second quarter, the Pacers were leading at half. And I'm thinking, man, there's a chance they can do this. Now, we're going to talk about the ESPN, the pregame, and the halftime show. The one thing about halftime, I thought, ESPN did such a tremendous job getting on the air. First thing Mike Breen does, Richard Jefferson, 2016, the last Game 7. You played in Game 7. What's it like? Jefferson gives an amazing answer, whatever. They go to halftime. I was very surprised they didn't go right to Bob Myers about, hey, this is exactly what happened to you when you were the GM of Golden State in 2019. They didn't seem to get there, which I thought was somewhat surprising. I am in the extreme minority, I believe, waking up this morning and being online last night. I don't mind that pregame show. I don't mind that group. I don't mind the talent that ESPN has assembled to bring us the NBA. We are now moving towards some change as far as the pregame show is concerned, with the guys from TNT coming over. And a lot of people, from what I could tell, are going to welcome that change. We're going to dive into that situation later on in the show. But as we stick to the game, Oklahoma City opening the door with that. By the way, that first half, they were tight. That was Game 7 playing at home tight. They were 4 for 17 from 3 in the first half. Again, that is a target-rich environment for a Pacers team without their star on the road looking for a door to open that they can blast through and pull off a miracle in the finals. But in the second half, it was too much. It was too much defense, too many turnovers, too many key turnovers. And this was something, a quote that I read this morning, that is, and it's not a knock or an indictment on Obi Toppin. It's actually, I appreciate this because he's being honest. And I think this is a thing that we can all look at. And when we see it, it's refreshing because it's so transparent. But he says, I was thinking about it the whole game. This is Toppin on Tyrese Haliburton's injury. That is a window into part of the just a trying situation it can be for a player to try to move through a moment like that when something so catastrophic happens to his team. And now, if he's saying that, I got to believe other players are thinking it. And it's sort of the effort of the Pacers. And this is, again, you're playing a better team. You're on the road. You lose your star. You're screwed, right? And they got exposed throughout the game. One, because it's one of those deals where, okay, we lost them. Who's going to step up? It's a Game 7. Toppin disappeared. TJ McConnell came in and tried to take over. And that's something I wanted to talk about. McConnell finishes the game with 16 points. He had like 10 straight, okay? He also had 7 turnovers. I understand that it was like Linsanity for a couple of moments there, watching TJ McConnell do his best Jalen Brunson impression. And it really did remind you, like, God damn, TJ McConnell is good. His ability to get down the floor and get to the hole against bigger guys. It's like a masterclass. At the same time, not that he was freezing out the rest of his teammates, but you got Pascal Siakam. He barely shot in the third quarter. And that blitz by McConnell, although successful, saw him turn the ball over 7 times. I saw Toppin turn the ball over 2 or 3 times in succession. Toppin finishes 0 for 4. By the way, he said it. He couldn't get it off his mind. We could kind of tell, right? And the McConnell thing, as exciting as it was and as Rudy-esque as it was, I was like, that's short money right there. I was watching at home. I was thinking, like, there's no way that TJ McConnell is going to lift this team consistently to the production they need so they can win this game. And then we saw Mathurin down the stretch late do what he could. Constantly, you saw all this, like, it was a rush here and then from the Pacers, here and there from the Pacers. And of course, in the back of our minds, I'm thinking, man, maybe there is a chance. Maybe there's a chance they can pull this off, especially when Mathurin puts together that flurry. But it wasn't to be. And one of the big reasons it wasn't to be. The backcourt of off the bench, Alex Caruso playing 32 minutes, scoring 10 points, having no turnovers was amazing. SGA, 29 points, 1 turnover. Now, the guy's 2 of 12 from 3-point, but you also look at the fact that he's 11 of 12 from the free throw line. Regardless of how you feel about his ability to get there, those are the guys who become transformational players in the NBA. players that can shoot the three. Last night, obviously, he had trouble, but players that can shoot the three and have such explosion off the dribble that they can get to the rack, right? And they're long and athletic enough to make shots in traffic and to make difficult shots. SGA is that guy. And his ability to do that and get to the rim and get fouled and go to the free throw line is that extra thing that makes him so special. He was absolutely phenomenal last night, doing exactly what he needed to do, right, to get his team to a championship. So Oklahoma City wins the title. And I was happy to see OKC win. One, I was happy for Sam Presti. He's done a tremendous job as a GM, and he's been doing it for years. Now, you could say the magic of working in Oklahoma City, if you're Sam Presti, he did get the grace, not only because of his success as a GM there, from the early stages in his career after coming over from the Spurs, but also, you know, when you're in a middle market like Oklahoma City, the ownership group and the fans give you a little more grace. There was a point in time there where the Thunder kind of stepped back. They amass draft picks, right? And then they do their thing. And here they are now with the championship. One question you could ask, and I'm on the fence for this, right? Is it their organization's second title or is it their first? Because Seattle won one. I think it was in 78, right? They beat the Wizards or the Bullets at the time, and Dick Mata and Wes Unseld. But I'll say that this is the first of the organization's history. That's just kind of the way I look at it. It gets so tricky too, as like a former PR guy. That's such a headache. Like when I was with the Bobcats, and then they became the Hornets. Because they actually took the name back from the Hornets, but the Hornets were actually, had already moved, right? So it was a whole deal. It was like the Pelicans had moved because initially the Hornets were the Pelicans. You know the deal. I'm doing a terrible job of describing it because I'm confusing myself. But the bottom line is those media guys were a pain in the ass to put together after that. I can say that some of the heartbreak around the Haliburton injury is in part because I believe that the Pacers had a real shot of winning that game if he had stayed in there. I want you to think about this. He's 3 of 4 from 3, so he's hot, right? Of course, it's likely that he runs into some trouble, right? And he has some problems, maybe making shots or getting open. But at the same time, you think about it, right? The Thunder played tight. The Thunder had trouble making shots from 3. If Tyrese Haliburton continues to play that game healthy, and of course we'll never know, and this is, for instance, I'm just pontificating here, but if he continues to play that game, I think the Pacers win, because I think that, honestly, I think Indiana could have built a lead at halftime, maybe 10, 11, 12 points, and you just get enough room between you and the Thunder to ward off some of those big runs, right? I think they would have had more of a shot. But nevertheless, the Thunder, they win their title. And now we get to turn the page back to last week when Scotty and I went toe-to-toe. And I think Scotty had a great point, and I think this goes more into, as we look forward in the NBA, does the Thunder have what it takes to sustain, right? Does the Thunder have what it takes to reel off a couple titles in a row, or let's say 2 titles in the next 4 years? And then then maybe 3 and 6 years, right? Maybe you're talking about what I would define as a dynasty. I'm sort of hung up on what Scotty said last week, that the West is so good. And we're going to talk about that when we come back, because we're going to talk about Kevin Durant going west. We're going to talk about the odds going into next NBA season. And man, they were changed. The odds continued to change all yesterday afternoon into the evening, right? You had the Durant trade, you had the Haliburton injury, you had the Thunder winning the title. The odds makers were busy last night in Vegas, and you'll be pretty interested to see where things stand headed into next season. We're also going to chat a little bit about Caitlin Clark losing 2 straight, also some reaction from last week's shows. A lot of mail, a lot of notes, a lot of vitriol coming from Caitlin Clark fans. But hey, that's the world we're living in. I get it. And we're also going to dive into the ESPN pregame show, and we're going to wrap up with Cam Stewart because the Baylor Bears have a player, VJ Edgecombe. We haven't tapped into that in a little bit, who is ready to get taken in the top 3 in the NBA draft. I got friends in Philly who are freaking out about the opportunity to possibly get VJ Edgecombe. That and more when we come back on the Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovakics.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
I don't know, if Bubble wasn't here, I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
It is the Pete Sousa Show, and we are back here live from Flower Mound, Texas, operating from here in the Metroplex. Bear the Truth. Scotty B, the Baylor King, saying what's up. Yeah, Scotty B started off today with a great point. Just too bad about Haliburton, right? And I agree. The Pacers were close at times, but they never got over the hump. And once that blitz happened in the second half, there was really nothing they could do. The Pacers could do. And here's Bear the Truth's question, which I like. How many times in NBA history do you all think, let's see, how many teams in NBA history could have overcome a similar star injury like that? That's a great question. I mean, we saw Golden State, they couldn't do it against Toronto when they lost KD. The Celtics were already out of it recently when they lost to the Knicks after losing Tatum. I don't know, man. That's difficult. I even go back to your Bulls, Bear the Truth. Now, they didn't lose Michael Jordan to an injury, but even the next year without MJ, they came damn close, but they couldn't get past the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's tough, man. When you lose a star like that, I think for a one-game situation, teams have banded together and have won a big game like that, like a Game 7. I can't think of one off the top of my head, so maybe they haven't. Because I like to trust my sports knowledge and my sports history knowledge. But, the Pacers couldn't do it. I guess that's the bottom line. It's really tough. And by the way, we're working on, and this is for young people in sports, and curious guys like me, old people in sports, but people who used to play sports. I am interested in the uptick in Achilles injuries. Just in the past, the NBA playoffs, Lillard, Tatum, and now Haliburton. Now, Tatum and Haliburton, younger than Lillard. I'll go back to the NFL. Aaron Rodgers, the beginning of the NFL season. There was a point in time where, at least me as an older guy, I thought, okay, these are old person injuries. Like a guy like me, I'll run and work out all day long. But I'm always like, do I want to go play pickup basketball? Do I want to play like flag football or something like that, or touch football? Because I don't want to just be running straight away and rupture my Achilles, right? Like a non-contact injury. But apparently great athletes, not just schleps like me, are worried about that too. And so we're trying to we're hunting down a doctor from Baylor Scott and White we can chat with a little bit about the uptick in these injuries. Shahan Jayaraja had a great point on Twitter last night. He mentioned that the speed of the game in the NBA has elevated to a pace and is just so quick that it's taken a toll on the bodies of these players. We've never seen anything like this before. And it's true. You can even talk about the NFL. Like the NFL in the 70s, 80s, and maybe even sometimes in the 90s was like two pickup trucks driving 30 miles per hour, smashing into each other, right? And the speed and the quality and the the size of the truck has continued to go up and up. But now we're talking about 80 miles an hour, a couple of 18-wheelers on I-35, or an 18-wheeler on I-35 hitting somebody, in a Maserati. So it's changing. And I would love to talk to a doctor about that. All right, more on basketball in the NBA. Obviously, a huge trade made earlier in the day. The Houston Rockets, they acquire Kevin Durant, 15-time All-Star, and they get him for Jalen Green, they get him for Dylan Brooks, and the number 10 pick in Wednesday's draft. We're going to talk to Paul Biancardi, by the way, from ESPN on Wednesday morning. Paul's been doing nothing but breaking huge news and handicapping the draft everywhere else but the Pete Sousa show over the past 2 weeks. So we're getting his ass back on here, and he'll get us ready for the draft. We'll hopefully talk to King McClure, too, after it. And he joins Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson. And here's the thing. A couple people have mentioned this, and if you look at the numbers, it's true. Well, Kevin Durant will be 37 in September. He's older. But at the same time, he averaged 26 points a game last year. This is not like Jets getting Aaron Rodgers, right? Or the Steelers getting Aaron Rodgers. You're sort of hoping on a miracle. Can we reach back into this guy's prolific past and get a couple more years or one more year out of this superstar type guy who's got this amazing history and legacy? With Kevin Durant, you're not really looking to reach back. The guy's still got it. I mean, he shot 50% off the dribble last year, jump shots. He brings, and this is a team, Houston was at the bottom of the league shooting jump shots, shooting field goals. Like, it's the perfect fit. So I don't freak out when I say, like, oh my gosh, like the Rockets traded Jalen Green. This is a future star or somebody who could be a piece or a cornerstone of a franchise. I know a lot of people were talking about, Haliburton, traded from the Kings to the Pacers, right? As sort of like, okay, let's throw him in the deal. Or SGA, right? He was part of a huge deal that the Clippers made to get Paul George. Now, so both these guys are superstars playing in Game 7s, and they were both like, they were big parts of those trades, right? They were pieces that the teams, especially the Clippers with SGA, you did not want to get rid of them. We talked last week about Sam Cassell being like to Doc Rivers, like, dude, we can't put that guy in the deal. And Doc was like, look, it's over my head. Lawrence Frank is making the call. This is when the Clippers unloaded SGA as part of that package to get Paul George. I don't think it's a similar situation. I think KD is going to be so effective for the Rockets that he'll make folks forget about that. One thing about the Rockets situation that I want to talk about before I get to a couple more things and we bring in Cam Stewart. I think a huge piece to the Rockets thing that has happened under the radar, because it's kind of like a weird, almost unspeakable topic that people don't want to get into, is the Ime Udoka. I think he is a huge part of this whole thing that's going on in Houston, and I think he is a huge asset for the Rockets. The fact that the Rockets, like any other team in the NBA, as we've seen recently, denied the opportunity for the Knicks to talk to Udoka. They lock him into a long-term deal over the weekend. Of course, he leaves the Celtics, right, under just like a dark cloud of controversy. Ugly stuff, transgressions as a man, but, nothing obviously he couldn't move forward from, and another organization couldn't get over. Because now I think the Rockets have their amazing coach, right? They were the 2nd seed in the West last year, okay? They've got an amazing coach. They've got amazing young talent. And now they've got KD, the 15-time All-Star, who comes over to your team averaging 26 points a game. Throw out how old he is, especially now when these guys play so long and they play so well. At some point, Father Time catches up to you. But until it happens, like, if you're the Rockets, you don't really have to talk yourself into that move. Like, it's right there. The numbers say it for you. Kevin Durant is still a superstar in the NBA. Honestly, and don't send me a message and say I don't know shit about sports, because you can kick rocks with that. I know plenty about sports, but people love to do that in the comments, and someday we'll talk about that. Some of your Caitlin Clark comments and shots at the young woman we had on Friday, superstar Anna Camden, were like abhorrent. I'm surprised people out there. It's understandable why people get so upset with Caitlin Clark fans. I feel like there's a couple bad apples out there that just napalm certain message boards, but that's another story. I know overall Caitlin Clark's fans are great, but when you think about exactly what is going on right now, and Kevin Durant, I was surprised to find out that he averaged 26 points a game last year. I didn't think it was that much. Oh, you didn't know? How did you not know? Because I didn't know, dude. Did you know that Chris Paul played all 82 games last year? Yeah. See, there's something you didn't know. All right, NBA pregame show. Before we get to Caitlin Clark and we bring on Cam Stewart. Last night, all over social media, at least like the accounts I follow, because I'm like a sports media nerd, people were freaking out about the ESPN pregame show. Now, there was a moment in the show early on where Stephen A. Smith is going back and forth or Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins are going back and forth, right? And it's something, honestly, I live in this world and I am not a sports snob. I like entertainment. I think Stephen A. Smith is Howard Cosell, except for he's not drunk. I love Stephen A. Smith. He is a compelling figure. He is a former beat writer. He is a former columnist. He is very talented, and he is sourced up. Is he loud? Yeah. Is he bombastic? Yeah. Can he be a lot sometimes? Yeah. But I like him, and he's entertaining. Now, Maybe that's because he's been in my life, really, since I'm 16, right? Reading the Philadelphia Inquirer, trying to figure out what's going on with Allen Iverson. Like, that's Stephen A. Smith is my guy. Like, I came up with Stephen A. So I have a maybe a different kind of respect for him than other folks do. I think a lot of people have no idea how much Stephen A. Smith knows about the NBA and sports and how hard he's worked. People don't like to, I don't know. There's just an absence of respect, I think. But all that aside, you know, Stephen A. is on every morning screaming and yelling with Kendrick Perkins. And so they have a real established camaraderie. And that's on display again last night. And Stephen A. decides to just rip Kendrick Perkins apart, call him annoying because Perkins keeps saying that Oklahoma City is going to be ready. They want the smoke. And Stephen A's like, dude, you don't know that they want the smoke. Maybe they won't be ready for a game 7. We've seen players wilt under the pressure of a game 7. But he's like really, really giving him a hard time. And to the point where Bob Myers can't get a word in edgewise. And Bob Myers is like, hey, like Stephen A., just because you yell it doesn't make it true. And it was actually, I thought, kind of a funny moment. I thought it was great because Kendrick Perkins, you know, you could tell he doesn't react. He doesn't get so pissed. I think Perk, some of the stuff he says is nonsense, but I do think he's really talented. I think he's like a really good figure on television. And his reputation and his experience speaks for itself, right? But there were a couple other things I had about this. Okay, so this pregame show, it's been like last night, people were losing their mind, and everybody, like polished sports writers, esteemable sports writers, are weighing in on this, just crushing the show, right? It's not, no need to bring them in, but like, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, do we have to be so provincial? Do we have to look at it's sports entertainment, right? Like, I think back to like, if Twitter had a voice, like I would have hated to see what they would have said about Jimmy the Greek, right? Jane Kennedy, right, was one of the first women, one of the first minority women on sports television every afternoon or every Sunday alongside Brent Musburger when Phyllis George left for a little bit. But like, could you imagine like the heat she would have taken on Twitter? Phyllis George as well. Musburger for stealing, you know, he was notorious for stealing stories from play-by-play and color analysts who were doing games on site. He would steal them for the show when he would hear them talking about it off camera. And he would kind of make the news his own. He would break the story. He'd be like, hey, Tom Brookshire and Pat Summerall. Well, we heard Joe Pisarcik is pulled up with a bad ankle. What do you think? And they would be like, dude, that was our news to break. Now we got like no big story. Like, so all this stuff, you know, guys making it about them, people making it about them, that is as old as time, right? It's as old as the pregame shows that have been out there. So Jimmy the Greek was an egomaniac and it was all about him. Frank Gifford wouldn't allow Monday Night Football to start unless it was his voice and face that everybody saw first. You know, we could go on and on and on. I just talked about Musburger. It's always, these are personalities. These people have egos. It's always going to be about them. Could we have a little more information on the pregame show? For sure. And I think sometimes the guys, even like the talent themselves, get a little wrapped up into what they do every day on First Take. And they forget that this is not the First Take crowd, right? There are people watching that game 7 last night that have no clue who any of those guys are. And when they watch and they see that yelling, they're kind of like, whoa, what in the world, right? And then basketball junkies, they want to get a little more information, right? They don't want to hear a debate show, right? They want more information that will get them, even like gamblers, right? As old as time, like what's going on? Like, show me Haliburton on the floor warming up, whatever. And they did that stuff too. One more thing I want to say in defense of this show is that, yo, you have no idea how loud it was in there. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there. But it's like ridiculously loud. And to do a show in that environment, I mean, I used to do a pregame show from Time Warner Cable Arena in Charlotte before Bobcats games or before Hornets games. It was like an online show, a virtual show, but I would do it in arena like 30 minutes before the game. And I'm telling you, it will be hard for me to hear in that podunk environment. I can't even imagine what those guys are dealing with and what Malik Andrews is dealing with. But the good news is if you're losing your mind about it, it's over, right? The TNT show's coming. I'm sure there will be some kind of thread and remnants of those shows and those personalities. But for a long time, ESPN has been, and I love ESPN. I work for ESPN. Like, they have been trying to find the magic sauce. And we've seen so many different, think about all the different lineups, right? I mean, even the hosts over the past like 5 years, Rachel Nichols, Maria Taylor, Michelle Beadle, Malika Andrews, I think all have done tremendous jobs, right? But there's just so much turnover, the talent, right? Paul Pierce. Now we're on to Bob Myers, right? Where's Jason Williams? Well, he's not on the pregame show, but he's on First Take. Now we got Perk. It's all good. I think Bob Myers is amazing. But there's just, it leaves a little bit to be desired. And I think that at the end of the day, the main thing that I come away with when looking at this pregame show is that society has changed, right? And we're just not as ready to camp out for a pregame show as we were when I was a kid. And so it's so hard to get that formula down. And that amazing formula that TNT has is 1 in a million. And I think like there's a radical acceptance that as viewers, we kind of all have to just take like, man, that show is actually that good. This show isn't bad. That show is amazing. And I think that that is a huge part of it. All right, Cam Stewart coming up next. I want to talk to Cam about the NBA draft. I want to talk to him a little bit about some of these Achilles injuries. Jason Tatum, you know, his demigod just went down with one. And why are these world-class athletes having to deal with this so much? Also, VJ Edgecombe, right? NBA draft. Karen Reed, a free woman. Cam Stewart. He is freedom. He is America. He's back. The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovaceks. Coming at you after this.
Did you know nearly all stock price changes of 10% or more result from a single news headline? These news catalysts create trading opportunities every day. All you need is a little help to reach out and take them. It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
OsleyMD.com. I've always had thin hair my whole life. It breaks off at a certain length. In the last 6 months, I've noticed it just really bad. I mean, you could totally see it. I wear a hat a lot. I tried several different products. My experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again. OsleyMD.com.
Golf Partner, the world's largest golf store network, offers more purchasing opportunities than anywhere else. With a dominant market share and a wider selection of quality secondhand golf clubs than our competitors, we make it easy for you to enjoy the game with affordable, top-quality equipment. Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner.
Since 2003, Bluehost has been empowering people to harness their brands online with innovative web hosting solutions. Trusted by over 2 million users, we're the longest-running WordPress.org recommended host. With Bluehost, you get a safer, better web experience, supported by the world's most popular site builder, and backed by our commitment to open source projects. Visit Bluehost.com today and take your website to the next level.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress. It's like a wearable hug for your nervous system that helps you calm down and feel better. The Apollo wearable will send gentle vibrations to your body, like a song you can feel instead of hear. You feel better, you sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Elevate your experience with Grenco Science, the leaders in cutting-edge vaporizers. Whether you're at home or on the go, our sleek, powerful devices deliver smooth, consistent hits every time. Quality you can trust, innovation you can feel. Grenco Science. Take your vapor game to the next level. Visit us at GrencoScience.com.
It all began with a simple idea, cutting handles off old ski sticks to create better pull-up bars. This sparked the creation of the revolutionary Angles 90 handles. After testing over 70 prototypes with 300 athletes, our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Angles90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
And we got Cam Stewart, which means we have got it going on. Cam's live from Chicago. Here I am in Flower Mound, Texas. And somehow, thanks to the gods of, I don't know, technical gods, whatever, here we are. We're making it happen. Cam Stewart from Locked On Baylor, Locked On, what was it, Locked On NHL?
Locked On NHL Game Night.
Which, by the way, was a resounding success.
Big time success. So much they're extending us, Pete. They're actually having us do some season previews this summer, starting July the 7th. So you'll get even more of me talking hockey. Yeah, huge success. Really boosted the numbers like big time for that channel. Resounding success.
Cam, that's because you're wildly talented. So that's great to hear. No, that's great to hear. And I want to tap into your wealth of knowledge. I have so many different things I want to touch on. First question for you. You have some experience on this. We were talking about it earlier. I feel like the secret sauce to the Rockets going forward, yeah, that's great. They got Kevin Durant. How good of a fit is Ime Udoka for the Rockets? How excited should Rockets fans be about that whole formula, right? The whole potion they have.
Yeah.
But Ime Udoka is the chemist now. And, it was under a dark cloud of controversy that the Celtics lost him, but he's a great coach.
Yeah, they didn't fire him because he wasn't a good coach. That's for sure. Ime is a terrific coach. I think they in a way got really lucky that their next guy was pretty good too. I still really like Joe Mazzulla. But yeah, Ime, man, he transformed the way the Celtics played within a season and got them to the NBA Finals. And some would have said they were the favorites going into that NBA Finals that they lost to Golden State. This is interesting because Durant has played for him before. Ime was an assistant with the Nets before he came to the Celtics and came in with a pretty good vote of confidence from some of those Nets players, including Kevin Durant, who had a pretty good relationship with him. What's interesting is obviously Ime's teams are super defensive. And what was great about the Celtics is he had those stars pretty young still, right as they were going into their prime. And he was able to get them to really buy in on the defensive end. And it made Jason Tatum look like an all-NBA kind of defender. Jaylen Brown was obviously a good defender going into it, took his game to another level. So I wonder how that works with Durant. The rest of his guys absolutely can make up for it. Durant was never a terrific defender. He was fine. And obviously his best days are behind him in terms of his mobility and things like that. Can still fill up a score sheet on the offensive end, but that will be interesting. How much of a contender are the Rockets this year? I don't think many people thought of them as contenders last year, even as the number 2 seed.
All right, Caitlin Clark, 1 of 17 for her last 17 3-pointers. Is that hold on now? Is that a big deal or no deal or little deal?
Well, anything that Caitlin Clark does is a big deal, right? That's a big deal. I mean, I don't know. It's not like you haven't really had a chance to talk about this. Give me your take on it. I can tell you got a little something coming here. Well, no, I was just about to say something that's just going to sound bad, because I think of this. women's basketball and specifically women's professional basketball, which is starting to look more and more like the NBA game in terms of how much they're shooting, what those shooting percentages look like. But it is akin to what the NBA was shooting wise, like right before the big, Steph Curry splash onto the scene, right? And then everybody started shooting threes. So like 10 years ago, a 1 for 17 stretch in the middle of a season wouldn't look like a bad deal for even a decent NBA shooter. Just be like, all right, that's a tough stretch. But now it would look like a huge deal because these guys are all supposed to hit 40%. And that's starting to translate to the women's game too. Like you need to, the best shooters are shooting between 35 and 40%. Like that's where you need to be. And Caitlin Clark is one of the best shooters. So I guess it is a big deal, but everything Caitlin Clark does is a big deal. I find it fascinating, kind of the way that some of her peers treat her around the league. Not that it's like, hey, I mean, all's fair in love and war. Like this is the pros, right? But it is interesting the spotlight that Caitlin Clark has brought to not just that league, but to women's basketball in general at any level. That so many people don't want her to be the face of the league, don't want her to be the big draw. There's so much negativity everywhere she turns.
Do you watch any more women's basketball this year than you did in the past?
Me, no.
Okay.
No, in fact, I watched the most women's basketball in my life when I was in college. When Baylor was obviously national championship level, I still watch a lot of Baylor women's basketball. But no, I don't watch WNBA. It's just I think I've reached my sports limit, Pete. I think I've reached my league's limit. I had to give up on lacrosse a few years ago, a sport I loved. So don't take it personal, WNBA.
All right, Rafael Devers. The trade from the Red Sox to the Giants. He homers, right? Now he's hit a home run against every team, and the last one came against his old team. Where are you at emotionally with this move? I mean, it has been a roller coaster for Red Sox fans.
Yeah, it's one of those weird ones, Pete, where I think both sides are wrong. Like, there's no boogeyman for me because I think both sides suck in this trade. Like the bare bones of it are the Red Sox just traded a potential Hall of Famer. Hall of very good player right now. And that could signify the third time in the last 5 years that they have traded a future Hall of Famer. And right now, the results of those trades are one guy on your major league roster. That's the result. One guy. And if you want to go even further, the results of those trades, that's resulted in 0 extra base hits and 0 runs batted in this year because Connor Wong somehow at the end of June does not have an extra base hit nor an RBI as the now backup catcher for the Red Sox. So you've gotten nothing in return, absolutely nothing. You went out and got 4 guys from this trade. None of them are on your major league roster right now, and none of them really are going to be much for this team. I think the showpiece guy in this, Hicks, is going to be a decent bullpen arm. So, I get it. It's a salary dump. That's $250 million off your books. But that's not a huge contract compared to what we're seeing in baseball today. Juan Soto's undoubtedly a better player, and he's getting $400 million more than Rafi Devers is over the length of that contract. Vlad Guerrero Jr., who they match up pretty well numbers-wise for the first 5-6 years of their career. Obviously, Devers has played a few years more than Guerrero. He's getting $500 million. So this, I don't want to say it's a bargain at 10 years for $313, but we're not going crazy here for what he is. And that's the other part. The last couple of years of that contract are going to suck. Go with God. Have fun with that, San Francisco. But we're not there yet. He's 28 years old. He's in the middle of an all-star season, right? A 30 home run season. He like a week and a half ago was leading the league in RBI, and Judge passed him. But, he's a star in his prime right now, and you gave him up for nothing, for flexibility. But then on the other side, Pete, Rafi Devers would have fit in with the Red Sox so seamlessly 30 years ago. Such a dink, man. Like, that's a classic Bill Stewart. This guy's a dink. He's not a team player. No matter what people are going to tell you, he's not a team player. Like, they've asked him to help out the team by playing a different position. And he said no. Twice he said no. And the first day he's in San Francisco,
which is insane, especially the way he handled it. It was insane the way he handled it. The whole
Like,
thing was crazy.
yeah. And I'm honestly, Pete, I'm so taken aback. Maybe this makes me a bad person because I'm wanting some more evil here, but I'm taken aback by how the Red Sox fans have responded to this. You know, most are with me and saying, you know what, I didn't want to trade this guy, but at this point, it's kind of like screw with what's gone on, because he goes to San Francisco. Day one, he says, I'll play any position you want. And then day one, he's taking ground balls at first base and BP. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This dude could not be arsed to do that in Boston. He was like blowing off the owner of the team and would not do that. In fact,
that's like that's like the girl you were dating that said you watch too much sports, and the first date she's on with a new guy on Instagram, she's at like a hockey game.
She's at a game, yeah. Dumb. Yeah, like that's how you feel about Rafi Devers. And in the last couple of weeks in Boston, he's like taking ground balls at shortstop just for fun. And it's like, I kind of am okay of ridding this kind of personality, but yeah, I don't like trading the player. But I'm just shocked at how many Red Sox, it's like, it's 20-year-old Red Sox fans on Twitter who are just like, college woke liberal. So they haven't been in the real world yet and had a real job, where you realize any job you have, guess what? You're going to be asked to do something else. There's going to be a neat little thing when you apply to any job that says like other tasks as assigned. Okay. That's going to come up in your everyday life. Okay. They're going to ask you to do something else. And you know what? Sometimes you don't want to do it. Then you quit, but then you lose that money. Rafi Devers getting $30 million a year. And there are Red Sox fans on Twitter calling other Red Sox fan bootlickers because he didn't switch positions, and they're mad at him for that. Like, he's not helping the team. So I don't like both sides of this suck. I'd rather have Rafi Devers on the team because I think they're a worse team than they were a week ago. But yeah, like, how does that not piss you off? That day one, he's like, yeah, I'll start taking ground balls at first. I'll play first for you guys. No problem. He wouldn't do that for you. He wouldn't do that for his employer, signing checks to him every year for $30 million. I don't feel bad when the owner asks you to do something else when you're making that kind of money. But maybe that's just me.
All right, speaking of big money, on Wednesday night, the team that drafts VJ Edgecombe is going to get what?
A highlight reel, that's for sure. Is he Cooper Flag? No, but no one is. He's going to be, I think he's the guy at the draft who has maybe the most upside of anybody taken in the top 5, just because he really is still very raw. You know, we saw him at Baylor. We saw certain improvements in his game through the 1 year of college basketball at Baylor. Like, this kid is still very raw. He's 19. He's super athletic, can jump through the gym. And I think there's a lot that you can work with there. So I've said whoever gets him, you're getting a human highlight reel. You're going to see your team on the SportsCenter top 10 plays quite a few times in this first season that he's there. But it's a tough ask, right? When you're being picked in the top 5, but I just hope he goes to a decent coaching staff, because I think he is very malleable there. I think he can become a good shooter. I think with his body and his athleticism, there's no reason that he can't be an all defensive kind of guy. He certainly created some defensive havoc in his 1 year at Baylor. So I think you're getting someone with really a ton of potential, maybe the most potential outside of Cooper Flag. I know people are gonna argue, the Harpers and the Ace Baileys of the world, but I think VJ has a ton of potential.
All right. Well, one more question for you, and then I got to ask you about Jaws. All
right.
Baylor football. Ashton Hawkins. Is there an update there? And if there is or there isn't, what do you make of that, let's say, absence and its impact on Baylor's wide receiving core and offense? Is this something that Baylor fans should be concerned about, or is it something that's like, hey, BYU is going to have to move on without Jake Retzlaff? Like, Baylor can certainly find a way without Ashton Hawkins. So first one, is there an update?
Yeah. So no update that I've heard. Nothing that says any kind of action has been brought against the NCAA. That the next part of the question is a little bit both in that I don't think Baylor fans should panic just yet, just because I think they would win this case. I don't know the inner workings of exactly Ashton Hawkins' situation, but what we know is he got approved for this waiver, and then 3 months later he just wasn't. It didn't really make any sense. And the defensive back for Rutgers, whose name is now escaping me, Jet Elad, won his case. The same thing. He had played a couple years of JUCO. They had the COVID year. It's basically his timeline matched up perfectly with what Ashton Hawkins did, which was a little bit different from Diego Pavia. Jet Elad won his case, so I think Ashton Hawkins would too. That said, I mean, you want Ashton Hawkins on this team. The best version of Baylor in 2025 has Ashton Hawkins on it, but this is such a supremely talented offense with a terrific offensive coordinator, a great quarterback, a great running game. I think they would be able to piece something together. I think there's kind of a next wave of Baylor receivers that would need to grow up a little bit quicker, but I don't doubt them. Those guys would be like Jaden Porter, the Lorena product, Taz Williams from Red Oak. There's a couple of guys who are still pretty young on the roster who I think can step in on limited snaps. Will they give you the production Ashton Hawkins did? Probably not quite. But you also have Kobe Prentice in the mix, a guy you brought in the portal who does do a lot of the same things that Ashton Hawkins does. I think they'll both get touches anyway, but yeah, I don't think it would be the end of the world.
Man, Cam Stewart. I mean, that's, guys, just so you know, if this is your first time watching, Cam can be a little bit of a wet blanket on hopes and dreams. So the fact that he is that's excited about Baylor's offense gets
usually
me
my
excited.
own dreams, but
all right.
Yeah.
Jaws.
No, it's fun.
I'm a Jaws guy, big time. And I was so excited to see on social media that you watched Jaws on the 50th anniversary. Does it, for you, hold up, the movie Jaws?
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, dude. Of course it does. I mean, I'm one of those douchebags who like goes off the AFI top 100 to find the next movie he wants to watch.
Yeah.
I did that for years, and I was always I've seen Jaws plenty of times at this point. I'm stunned. It's obviously a completely subjective ranking. I think Jaws is one of the 10 or 15 best movies ever made.
I agree.
I think it's perfect. It's got all the things. It's got all the things like the film douchebags like myself love, that call it film instead of movies. It is a horror movie with a ton of character to it, which not all even great horror movies have. And I think this has been said before, but an absolute stroke of genius, maybe divine intervention, was the fact that the shark didn't work.
So it builds up.
I'm sure you know about this, Pete. Yeah.
It builds up suspense.
Yeah. So you never really see it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that really kind of has the need for John Williams' score, which is obviously it's perfect for that movie. And I did notice that there's one great, the scene that everybody remembers, right? When Roy Scheider there's throwing the chum in, the police captain's throwing the chum in, and he first sees him and he perks up like that. And he goes back and tells Quint, you're going to need a bigger boat. That's the only time in the movie that you see the shark without the music. And it's perfect because up to that point, you've heard only the music every time. And so you know that there's danger. You know it's the shark. You know when it's not the shark, when it's the kids playing the prank. But this time, you are taken off guard just as much as the people on the boat are. And I think that, like, again, it's super like pulling hairs here, but that is such good filmmaking right there. Like, you're experiencing the thing that the guys on the boat are. And there's some other, like, I could get in depth with some of the camera angles and stuff that they do, but it's a perfect movie. It looks fantastic 50 years later. And one of the great things about when movies started to change in the 70s is it does feel a little more realistic. When they got grittier, it's like, okay, this actually feels like a real movie and not some, big kind of production, so to speak. So yeah, I love that movie. I love Martha's Vineyard too. So
this is the one thing too that I noticed. I gotta, can't sit on the sidelines for a conversation about Jaws. I got like the fact that the vineyard hasn't changed that much, right? Really helps this movie in a sense where it's like you go to the vineyard now, like it's almost the same. Like it's really magical how it is still holding up, not just like the movie itself and its entertainment value, but like also like the history and the realism that lends itself to the movie. It's quite the amazing way that it still is so satisfying for a viewer.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, you said it. You go to Martha's Vineyard right now, and it's gonna look the same. It's
Yeah.
gonna be still a big deal around the 4th of July. I don't think they would avoid closing the beaches if there was a killer shark out there. Murray Hamilton, one of the great villains in movie history,
has
also
been
a good
compared to
Twilight
a
Zone
president
character.
in office now.
I've heard that. I've heard that. And that's another thing that I do love about this movie is it's got like 6 people in the cast.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
you didn't need more than that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many movies. There obviously are still movies that still do that, but it doesn't feel like they do it as much. One of the
Yeah.
other ones I watched this weekend with Grace was Dog Day Afternoon. From I
unbelievable.
think maybe the same year, 75.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the same thing. And
Yep.
she loves heist movies. And so I was like, give this a shot. It's a heist movie. It's funny. It's a funny movie. And it all takes place in a bank over a couple hours. And there's like, max 10 characters in the movie because there's 9 people in the bank, or 8 people in the bank.
Attica. I mean, that's it. Cam Stewart, you've delivered once again. Like Jaws, like Dog Day Afternoon, like Kevin Durant might for the Houston Rockets. Cam,
I'd like to go to Montana.
Cam,
Let's say
you do-
Wyoming, Montana.
Cam's show is today.
Yes,
The Cam show.
right now.
You can catch him out on the Rogue Media Network. He's going to do it. Make sure you check out Locked On Baylor. I joined Cam on Locked On Baylor. That episode's coming up when?
Probably tomorrow.
Let's go.
Probably tomorrow. Tomorrow or Thursday. It's coming out this week.
All right, Cam, you're the man. Cam Stewart, there he is. Make sure you catch him in all his glory in a couple minutes from now on the Rogue Media Network. That'll do it for us from Flower Mound. Scotty and I will be back in studio making magical music together tomorrow. I've definitely tagged too many things with the word magical today. I'll work on not doing that tomorrow. We're looking to get a doctor, a professional on board who can talk to us about these Achilles injuries and the influx of them. I meant to ask Cam that, but I forgot. I'm telling you, with just an hour, I'm constantly like shoehorning stuff in and forgetting stuff. So I apologize. Everything we missed, we probably won't get to tomorrow. Wednesday we got Paul Biancardi talking about the draft, the Pete Sousa Show. Like, subscribe. Thank you guys so much. Scotty B, the Baylor King. Bear the truth. You guys are the truth. We'll see you tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.